What's going on, Evil Dead fans, Power Ranger fans, cosplay fans in general, and just people on YouTube? Gothman here. I'm giving you guys a little bit of an Ash vs. the Evil Dead update. So it's been a while since I've done a prop or an Evil Dead thing, and I'm going to help you guys out with that in just a second. But as many of you know, I used an Ash vs. the Evil Dead cover when I did my Necronomicon, which I showed you guys how to build on YouTube. So those videos are online. I showed you how to do the pages, how to weather them, how to assemble them, how to make the book cover, etc., all that stuff. And then I showed again how to paint the book with translucent dyes and washes and stuff when we did Brett's Evil Dead 2 book. As many of you know, there is an official replica coming out, so Necronomicons are not going to be as few and far between as people want, and it's going to be easier and more affordable to get them. So I was just going to stop making them outright. No covers, no nothing. But then Sir Vinny came by, one of the Knights of Samaria. He came by. He has about 36 actual screen-used pages, so sides of pages. They're 11 by 17, cut down and folded, which is pretty standard tabloid size pages. And I was able to get my hands on them. I was able to see what kind of paper they used. I was able to see that they are all digitally printed pages. They are not hand-done, but for actual up-close shots, where a few you could tell were used in an episode, they went over the print with translucent red ink. Looked like India ink, to be honest with you, but with a brush. So they did revisit some of the pages for the up-close shots to give it that bit of texture, but 90% of the pages are just printed, which means artists did it one time. God knows what size they were. They scanned them. The aging is all digital. I can tell. Once I get up close with it, you can tell what it is. And if you've been weathering stuff digitally and in real life, you can spot some of this digital stuff. So you know the techniques they used and stuff. So I was actually really, really lucky that he came down and was able to pick up his birthday present and let me scan some of these pages and get my hands on them. I'm going to show you guys a page today. It's the page that everybody wants. And I'm going to show you how you can print one out and actually weather it. There are some high-res versions of it circulating around, but I have decided, since I've got about 36 of these now, and now I have enough raw material that I can remake almost all the ones you see in the show, with a little bit of help from a few other Knights. I'm probably going to be able to make about an 80-page Ash vs. the Evil Dead book. So I'm going to make another Necronomicon. It's going to be my hardcore one, the one that looks the most realistic, based on Ash vs. the Evil Dead. But I'm not going to use Ash vs. the Evil Dead covers. And now people are going to be like, well, it's not a prop, it's not a replica. Why? Well, like I said, I made an Ash vs. the Evil Dead cover and put Sullivan pages in it for my own personal Necronomicon. So this one I'm going to take up a notch. I was working on a bigger Necronomicon for someone, and we had a trade going, and that's just not going to go forward, which is totally fine, because I've always wanted an Army of Darkness one. The problem is the book's never opened in the movie except when the druid looks at it, and you don't get to see the pages, so you have no friggin' clue what's in it. You have an animatic in the beginning of the movie, but the cover doesn't match with the AOD cover. So what's in the AOD book? Well, since this is bigger, and I'm going to do about 8 by 10 pages for this book, I'm thinking I'm going to stick all my Ash vs. the Evil Dead inked art into this. And now that may seem completely ass backwards to some people, but it's my Necronomicon. I'm going to do what I want with it. And if you don't like it, build your own. So I'm going to take this cover, which is the AOD. This was a gift from David Perkle. This was a birthday present, which I have gone in, repainted, and re-dyed, and done what I like to do with it. It does not have that obnoxious N engraved into it, and it does not have that stupid text on the spine. This is the way I like it, and Dave's the man. I appreciate that, Dave. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to put into it the Ash vs. Evil Dead stuff. Now, I mentioned to everybody that there's a couple ways that you can do weathering. So I like to use parchment paper. This is just a crumpled piece of parchment paper. So as you know, I like to take it, crumple it up, and then go over it with sponge or natural coral sponges and use different dyes. Wood sheens, shoe polishes of different kinds, even to taking just a tea bag and just kind of going over it and letting it stain or get watermarks. You can add blood and things. But if you go super hardcore with the wood sheen, you get a page that looks like this. So it photographs really well. In real life, it's dark, but in this really harsh lighting, you can see it's pretty cool. And with the weathering, if you go super hardcore with the weathering, you get an almost unlegible looking page, but it looks old as hell. So this is a super weathered, recognize? I can't see, so I'm going to stick my head around. It's the Ash boomstick page, or sometimes called El Jefe page, the prophesized one page, whatever the fuck they call it. It's the one where Ash has got the boomstick and he's holding it up. And this appears in several episodes, in several different incarnations. Ruby actually deletes it at one point. And there was a lot of these made for production. There were a lot of them that went through the auction from VIP. So this is a super weathered version, and I was going to frame it and put it up in my workshop. But I decided to back it off a little bit. I revisited the color digitally, and I optimized it for CMYK printing and different things. And I wanted something that was just a little bit more oomphy and could be noticeable right off the bat. So I like the super weathered, but I actually kind of wanted something that would be like, people would see it and be like, oh, wow, I know what that is. So I went and did another one. Much lighter weathering on this one. So as you can see, it's much more subtle. But you can really see the detail. If you really look at it, you can see Ash's face. I mean, they did a great job. My guess is that this was probably done on 11 by 17 or even 24 by 36 as a canvas like painting, and then they shrunk it down after they scanned it, because this is a lot of detail. If you really look at Castle Kandar in the background, the ridges all have little spikes and stuff on it. Now, if anybody's ever worked with an ink brush, that level of tiny detail for something this small is like impossible. So this was definitely bigger than what they printed. So I'd love to see where the original is. I'm curious. But you can see the light weathering and things that I did. And all the pages in the Necronomicon have these rounded edges for Ash vs. the Evil Dead. So I'll be adding that to all of my pages. And I'm probably going to take a belt sander to all of it and, you know, imperfect edges, maybe burn a little bit, but overall, much lighter job. So again, this is actually what the paper looks like. Let me put something behind it so you can't see through it. It is translucent paper, which is why I like it. But if you look at it really up close, it's got a little bit of splotchiness to it, and you've seen it in my other videos. And when you print it, the weathering's already on the printed pages, but I have dumb that down a little bit so that the character from the existing page will come in. So if you print the actual weathering and then weather it with hand weather material, it looks like this. And if you just go to the laser printer guy and just print it, yeah, it looks okay, but it's definitely not the quality that it would be if you went and did some hand work to it. Plus, that's boring. I mean, you could literally download all of these and put them together and just print them, and then you bind them and you're good to go. Just crumple them up and, you know, weather some of the edging and you're good to go. You can take the natural weathering on them. Me personally, you know me, I like to get my own look to everything. It has to be mine. So a little bit of light weathering doesn't affect the art so much, and this is actually a little washed in the image. So if you know, in this video, it's not a perfect video. If you see it in life, it's actually a little bit more dirty than that. I'll probably take a picture and post it, but you can see that this is going to display really nice, and I'm going to just put up that it's the El Jefe page, and this is pretty much what it's going to look like in the book. So if I were to use this against my original that I made, it don't quite fit. So I can't just rip out my existing Tom Sullivan pages and put this in. I mean, I probably could if I really wanted to. So if I do it like this, it doesn't stick out a ton, and it wouldn't require a ton of shrinking, so to speak, to really weather the page down and make it the size that would fit in this. So I probably could, but as many of you know, and as Vinny pointed out, the stitching isn't 100% accurate. The stitching is supposed to curve around and come down. So since this isn't 100% accurate anyway, what's the point, you know? I do enjoy accuracy, but I also enjoy making it my own, as you guys know from my chainsaw. Now, if you look at it against the Army of Darkness cover, it's much bigger. It's designed to hold 8.5 by 11 pages. So this will sit inside beautifully. It'll have a little bit of hangover. It'll look great, and it'll give me something to do with that cover. I was originally going to put the script in that and weather the pages and have just the Army of Darkness script in the book, written in bull script with some Sullivan-esque artwork dropped in. But we're not doing that now. So that's where we're at with what the next project for me is going to be. Eventually, and it'll take me a long time to do that Necronomicon because I have to recreate a lot of the pages digitally. I have to arrange them all into a page layout program, and then I have to take them, get them printed. Printing color pages on the paper that I want is going to be expensive. it's going to probably cost $50 to $60 to print something like that. And if I do 80 pages, it'll cost me closer to $80 to $100. So it's not going to happen anytime soon. For now, we're just looking at, you know, the weathered display of this particular page, the boomstick page, which I've wanted really badly. And I wouldn't have this page if it wasn't for Vinny. If Vinny didn't come by with the screen used one and let me scan it, I wouldn't be able to be messing around with it and trying to optimize its printing ability for color and whatnot. But I wanted everybody to have a little bit of a close-up look at the artwork and some of the text that goes with it, so you can really kind of see the ink work done. It's fantastic. If you want to compare that to the Tom Sullivan page from Evil Dead 2, granted, I know mine is super weathered, but this was from pulled from the DVD. And nobody's really photographed these two side by side before, so if you take a look, you can really see they did a good job. Now, obviously, this text isn't in the Necronomicon. This is from the DVD, and it says "Hail to the King, baby." But you see the triangle, the pattern, a little different, but the pillars are there, the castle in the background, everything's there, the boomstick. Very, very cool comparison. So, if you like the Sullivan style work, which I do, then those are out there. Elder Prop is still circulating his stuff, so you can go out there and make it. I've seen a lot of people selling them now with Elder Prop's pages in it. They're unmistakable because some of them are mine. And Juan continues to put that out for everybody, so if you have not gone and gotten your Elder Prop stuff, he has not been sued by the copyright owner yet. So they're still out there, so I would grab them now if you're going to grab them, because I can't promise that they'll be there forever. I have nothing to do with it, but those of us who are in the know are in the know, and we'll see what happens with people who are violating this particular copyright in the near future. So, as some of you know, an officially licensed one is coming out, and anytime something officially licensed comes out, they go after the replica makers. So bear in mind, the free one could disappear very quickly. As for mine, it'll be done soon. I'll have the page displayed how I want it, done the way I want, and I'll keep video updates and things like that. I have a bunch of other props coming down, including more work on the Aquaman. Some people have been asking about the Aquaman, and I am going to do a full video on everything Aquaman related. So, for example, some leather that was picked up for the gauntlets, which actually is pretty cool, and I've been working with it about possibly even making a leather Necronomicon cover, so we'll see. But in the meantime, it's back to work.